Good morning and welcome to yet another great episode of Enterprise Morning right here from our headquarters in Enterprise Television. In a bit, we'll be going to our newspaper headlines to see what we have for you this morning. And right after that will be our main conversation also for today. While we get everything all sorted out for you, please do well to visit our website at www.enterprisetv.com and also like, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV7. I am Henry.
And I'm Choma Okohe.
And right here in the studios together to do justice to our newspaper review segment and also take us on our main conversation are Dr. Olainka Oyebile, an educator and also a public affairs commentator, and also Barrister Vanso Feli, a barrister at law and a public affairs commentator. Good morning to you, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning. And welcome
Morning.
to Enterprise Morning today. Right, Choma, we have very interesting stories from the newspaper dailies today. And first on the list, what do we have?
Yeah, we're actually in the interesting days. And we have the Daily Trust newspaper. The top story here from the top strip says, FEC holds today may consider new minimum wage for workers.
And yet again, we have a cholera. Federal government activates emergency center.
And moving on, Boko Haram terrorists abduct judge. Wife in Borno.
And the big story we have for Shatima to Sokoto government, Sultan must be guarded jealously. And the writer says dethronement report untrue and so from officials. And the assembly dismisses fear as Sultanate Council ACF mom.
And when you go down, still on the Daily Trust newspaper, you find varsities ground on the heavy electricity bill.
Yes, so let's get into the big story here. Shatima to Sokoto government, Sultan must be guarded jealously. This brings me to the story, 1963 particularly, when the Saldana dethroned Muhammad Sanusi I and the 11th Emir of Kano. And many years after, his grandson was also dethroned also. And where we have repeated issues like this, thank goodness, this is a rumor. But what do you think the picture is painted? I'd love to start with you, Barrister Vanso Feli.
Well, once the emirate or the traditional institution is placed under the local government authority or placed under the state government authority, and the state government unwittingly uses the traditional stool to settle political scores, you will always have discordance. Yes. Sometimes they even set aside completely their traditional heritage. Anything you mix with politics, you get a dirty solution, including the home front. Once the home front is now a theater of political maneuvering and surreptitious display of power, there is nothing in that house that will be at peace. So the Kano Emirate system or the state government of Kano should try as much as possible to separate politics from their traditional stool. As much as possible. Because you see, this whole dispute started from, apart from the far back historical angle to it, Ganduje's squabble with the current, with Sanusi.
Yeah.
Started from there. Now, because Ganduje had political power, okay, he had state power, he was able to use it to control the local government, thereby controlling the traditional institution. And then the issue between Ganduje and Sanusi couldn't have been a local government issue. It couldn't have been a problem between the entire state or the emirate or the people of that emirate. The problem is a personal problem, a elitist squabble, which he transferred into an emirate problem by using its authority as a state government to distort the natural workings of things in the state by expanding the emirate. because he has political power to so do. And you also have parliament, state house of assembly that have no minds of their own. Across Nigeria today, state house of assemblies are like local governments now, where governor will wake up one day, dissolve a democratically elected government, replace it with a caretaker committee. That's an aberration. In the next 10 years, if our state house of assembly continue like this, they will reduce completely to a local government. Governors will be throwing jibes at them. Whereas the state house of assembly is supposed to be the first point of call, because everywhere democracy exists, parliament is the essence of democracy. You know why? Because that is where you have a conglomeration of the entire constituency of a state, representative government. In the executive, how many persons elected in the executive? It's just the governor and the deputy, which is even a joint ticket. All the commissioners are appointed. They don't have mandate. But parliament, everybody you see in parliament is elected. So why should you have such kind of power? Then you surrender to a governor that rigged himself into office, that was not even voted in the first place. And then he begins to control parliament like he's controlling a local government. That is where the problem is. So the governor will just wake up one morning, send a bill to the speaker, tell speaker to move it in like 2 days. It will get to committee stage in 2 days. And then on the 4th day, the governor has signed. On the 5th day, they are asking an emir to be deposed. Then on the 6th day, they swear in another emir.
You see,
so when you use politics, you are killing the institutions.
Yes, the reason why I actually deliberately took us back to 1963 is this is a precedence coming from somewhere. In 1963, when Sardauna had an issue with Muhammad Sanusi, he used the then northern governor, Kashim Ibrahim, right, to dethrone Muhammad then. So why do you think it is mostly a fight of ego between, individuals? And if you take a look at what's happening currently, it's still the same old. So why do you think we keep having a reoccurrence of this? And if possible, this is almost transiting to Sokoto Emirate itself.
Well,
Yes.
I think, just as you have said, anything you mix with politics becomes dirty. As long as the politician cannot separate politics from traditional institutions, we will continue to have that problem. And also, traditional rulers also need to have some level of control in their own interference in politics. The issue of the Sultan, it first came into my notice when that upstart group in Lagos, Muric, made a statement. And I didn't take it seriously because I thought the Muric in his usual manner just wants to raise tension until the vice president mentioned it. And I said, so this thing is really serious. I don't know. I don't know what the problem of the governor is with the Sultan. The Sultan, in the last few years that he has been installed, to my mind, has not been very partisan or has not been forthcoming in terms of talking politics, at least publicly, and unlike other traditional, unlike do you call him the 14th or do you call him the 15th or the 16th emir, the 14th or the 16th emir? I mean Sanusi.
Yes.
Unlike Sanusi. So I don't know why our governors think that the next thing to do when they get to power is to remove traditional ruler. That is not part of their mandate. Your business is to provide infrastructure, to provide good governance for your people. Leave the traditional ruler alone to be doing what he's doing. Although that is not to say if traditional ruler dabble into politics, they should not be cautioned. But in the case of the Sultan, unless maybe it didn't fall under my own radar, I have not seen how the Sultan has been partisan in the last few years. So, what exactly is the problem that the governor is trying to pin on him to that point that he wants to remove him? And we must also learn that, for instance, I think the problem in Kano has not boiled over because the two contending emirs are cousins. If it were not to be so, and we all know what this kind of thing leads to in that part of the country. The business of the governor or the government is to make life easy for the masses. It's not for them to continue to rob. Political power is different from traditional power. At most, you will spend 8 years and go. If God gives the governor the traditional ruler life, he has seen. I mean, look at the Awujale of Ijebuland. And the man has spent almost 60 years there. I mean, so what is it? And so why should a temporary 8 years tenure, no governor will have more than 8 years at least for now. So why should you in 8 years want to disrupt what has been there for long if the person involved has not obviously become partisan? So I don't see why all these things, they are bringing all this trouble on themselves.
Yeah,
it is to show that they don't have anything to do.
Okay, now thank you. Over to you, Barrister Ofeli. Now, the organization said the pedestal of the Sultan of Sokoto is not only traditional but also religious, adding that the Sultan doubles as the head of the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs. Now, the father went further to warn that the Sokoto governor should not force the Nigerian Muslim to take drastically revolutionary measure. Now, what do you think this impact will have if they should succeed with what they're planning to do? What do you think this impact will have with the Islamic affairs?
Well, it really creates another disruption of the polity and creates unrest in that region. And as usual, it is the poor people that will suffer because there's no amount of unrest they are going to create that will bring down the governor of the state or that will bring down the elites or the leaders of that region. So while they plan whatever it is they are planning, they should be cautious of the fact that the north is already a flashpoint of a lot of kidnapping, killings, attacks, and the rest of that. They have enough troubles in their hands already, and this has trickled down to made it even impossible for you to move around freely in that axis. Okay, so we should make a call to them, to the presidency, to the National Security Advisor, okay, and then to all the security agencies to be at alert. The issue itself is one that can be resolved, except that most times it's just a battle of supremacy. Who is going to outwit who? Who is going to show more power than the other? And these things are vanity. They do not have academic content. They do not contribute to the welfare of the people. It does not improve the life of those in the IDPs. It does not stop Boko Haram from attacking. It does nothing good. It doesn't secure the lives of the people. Okay? So why should we begin to, move around and begin to create problems? Okay? Those who created the Sokoto Caliphate, Usman and Fodio and his cohorts that used the Islamic revivalist movement in 1803, 1804. and established, there was a jihad. This caliphate didn't come by bread and beans. It was not an easy, it was not an Akamu easy way to, they shed blood to, to establish that caliphate. There was a conquest, there was serious war in those days to have that caliphate. So if now in the 21st century, they are now tired of the caliphate, or people want to reduce it to whatever it is, well, good luck to them. It's up to them to do whatever it is they want to do. But they should, as much as they can, ensure that that part of the country is not pushed into crisis, insurrection, and mutiny.
Well.
Because if that happens, the federal government will resist that, and then people will lose their lives.
All right, very well said. So let's move on to the Daily Independent newspaper. And the big story here says cholera outbreak, the toll rises to 53 across 31 states. Cases soar to 1,528. And the writer here says for the government asking Nigerians to avoid locally prepared kunu, zobo, and others. Ogun lament lack of vaccines. Lagos State contact tracing.
And getting to the top strip of the Daily Independent newspaper, I want to rest until insecurity is eliminated.
And
President Tinubu
reassures. Very, very true. And we have on the bottom strip of the same newspaper, Senate insists on probing Buhari 30 trillion naira ways and means loans.
Okay, moving into page 6, but still on the Daily Independent newspaper, CS holds alert CBN, others overplot to frustrate banking sector reforms. Details are on page 6.
All right, I think let's get into that because I think it's very important. Barrister, you were there when this press statement, was held, and also being part of the coalition itself with Cadrell. I want you to speak to us more on this this coalition and what they intend to achieve with the press statement held yesterday.
Well, the press conference held yesterday was to look at the viability of our banks and the reform that the CBN had kickstarted. This is going to be the 6th banking reform we're going to have in Nigeria. Every reform came with its own specific objective. This one is targeted at recapitalization to ensure that our banks are healthy enough. Because from the number of banks we have, and with the new threshold for capitalization just introduced, a lot of them are not healthy enough to recapitalize. Okay? Now, there are cabals or certain interests that do not want this reform to take place. Because after every reform, there are job losses, there are interests and all that, and so many things will happen. Okay? And the reform is long overdue. In fact, if we do not have that reform now, we are going to run into a problem in future in terms of the financial institutions. So having seen all the projections, those who are straining and holding back and making sure that this reform does not happen, were actually the people that the coalition was against. And we're speaking to them directly in the language they understand, that this reform must take place for the following advantage, and that our banks that are not healthy enough should be cautious of the fact that they will have to, like they know that they will have to go into merger, they have to go into takeovers, and they will do a lot to ensure that the ones that are able to recapitalize, because as at the time we had the last recapitalization, the 25 billion naira threshold, okay, if you look at what the value of that money is today, vis-a-vis our population then and now, okay, you will notice that even the NDIC that insures depositors' funds and the 25 billion naira recapitalization, if a bank is going distress, you cannot use that to offset depositors' funds. You understand? Even if AMCON take over the asset and liabilities, AMCON will have to now institute court cases against the debtors, most times these debts are bad debts, then AMCON is able to get a court order to take over maybe assets, take over liquidity that are left, and they will still not be able to hit up to 10% of the debt or on each person. So why should you allow the banks to fester like that, to keep going that way? Today, our banks cannot really finance big projects. Our bank cannot finance the establishment of a refinery. The Dangote refinery were foreign loans, for sovereign loans. The country had to borrow, you know. Ordinarily, if our banks are healthy, they should be able to undertake capital projects. But what does our banks do today? They sell recharge card. They sell light, power. And they sell little. What our banks are doing, buying and selling. So if we want to go into a huge capital-intensive project that will create employment for Nigerians, none of our banks, even if we put all of them together, can undertake that. So what it therefore means is that if your banking system cannot hold your economy together and guarantee investments, finance and fund projects, then you are going to be on a long walk on the corridor of unemployment. Okay? Yeah. So I now say, okay, let us do this. And so the idea is to ensure that those who are holding back, those who are making sure it does not happen, are the people this was targeted against. All right. And then to also let Nigerians, so that Nigerians are aware of where we are, and they too can lend their voices on the issue under reference.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, moving on, let's get into the next paper, or the last paper for the day.
So what do we have?
Yeah, let's look at the Punch newspaper. Now, operators seek federal government intervention as marketers opt for fail import. Dealers slam IOCs. NMDPR silent amid dirty fuel import accusation.
Yes, and minimum wage. Be patient with Tinubu presidency pleads, and that's on page 9 of the Punch newspaper.
Okay, now let's look at this minimum wage before we call it a wrap today. And over to you. They'll be having the FEC meeting today, and even Labour came out to advise that the president should approve the 250,000 naira. Do you think there will be positive reply or report today after the FEC meeting?
Well, this has become, the issue of minimum wage has become a ding-dong affair. Throw it to me, I throw it to you, I throw it back. Whatever is agreed upon, the worker is at the receiving end. Because over a year ago now, fuel price has gone up, prices of things have skyrocketed and continue to skyrocket. Yet, workers are still taking the old minimum wage. Some are even not paying the 30,000. So, if today FEC says we have agreed that we are going to pay you 150 or whatever they agree on, and Labour even accepts it, the worker will still be at the receiving end because things will still go up. Things have already gone up when you increase the fuel price. Now, 1 year after you grudgingly approve a salary increase, things will go up. The workers at the receiving end. But at the end of it, what do we have to say? As far as I'm concerned, some people have been blaming Labour that they are always focusing on more minimum wage, and all that more money, rather than what they should focus on, that they should focus on infrastructure and development of this and that. But the truth of the matter is, you blame Labour. Yes, Labour has its own blame, but the largest chunk of the blame should go to the government. When I say the government, I don't mean the present government. I mean all the governments that have been involved in this issue of removal of this so-called subsidy thing. When Obasanjo, as president, was going to increase the fuel price, he said it will improve on infrastructure. Your guess is as good as mine. Has the infrastructure been improved upon from that 1999 up to 2024? No. When Tinubu came, he said he will improve infrastructure. Show me what infrastructure has been improved upon. You might say 1 year is too short to improve the infrastructure. They are laying, but how long are they going to lay the foundation? Yes, you are saying that you don't have money to pay minimum wage or what the workers are demanding for. But the National Assembly is already telling us that they want to buy 2 aircraft. The president went to South Africa. He didn't go with 10. We have 10 aircraft in the presidential fleet. And none of the 10 was fit enough for the president to go with. He had to go with a private, a friend's jet. So that has told you that it is already a fait accompli. Whether you like it or not, the jet, they are going to buy the jet. And this same one, you are telling the workers that you don't have money. Yes, you have money to feed the luxury of the ruling class, but you don't have money to feed the essentials of the workers. Then, for me, it shows me that there is no equal judgment. When you are in government, you are there to serve. What is wrong in the president of Nigeria going with a commercial flight? The Queen or the King of England goes with BA. Yes, you might say that they have a national airline. Yes, we don't have a national airline. But if you want to, if you want your president to travel, if you ask for, if he's going to South Africa, you have the South African Airways that, okay, we want you to clear the whole of your first class or whatever for our president to travel. What is wrong with that? I mean, look, the way we treat leaders in this country, we treat them like gods. I just want, when they die, is it not the same 6 feet? Are they going to say because he's the president of Nigeria or is the whatever of any country, will they bury him in 20 feet? No, it's the same 6 feet that they're going to do. So why is it that we must treat, they must see themselves as special from every other person? If you can't pay workers, but you can buy presidential jets. How do you want to convince the worker that things are bad?
Well, very well said. I would have loved we go on and on, but for the want of time, we just have to call it a wrap for this segment. We'd love to say thank you to Ambassador Vanso Freddy.
Thank you.
And Dr. Laika. Thank you so very much for being part of our show. And just to let you know that, if possible, both gentlemen will be here to take us on our main conversation also for today.
Yeah, to stay tuned when we return. Former Rivers Council Chairman defy police order. Stage protests to demand their reinstatement.
That's in a beat. Please don't go anywhere.